Right, so there are a couple of brand new CBI programs that are just about to launch. One is a powerful passport with Schengen access. I'm going to discuss the precise price prediction, what I think would be the price, and there's a strong reason why I back this. I'm going to discuss that. Second, most important thing is a lot of you guys are waiting to see what the program is so that you can make a decision. So I'm going to discuss the timeframes because we are tracking both programs with respective authorities. So obviously, if you are subscribed to the channel, I promise you, you would be the first one to be notified the moment there's any launch date set. But I'm going to give you my prediction on the launch date. And there's a second CBI program. I want to share the price floor, the range, and the utility. Is it important? Is it good? It's a plan C. It's not a strong passport. The second one. The first one is a strong passport. Second one is not such a strong passport. But there's a unique reason why a lot of people might want to consider this. I'm going to discuss that reason. So let's first start with the strong passport. A plan B passport is St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That's in the Caribbean. And their visa-free access is identical to the other 5 CBI countries. If you look at St. Lucia or Antigua and Barbuda, or if you look at Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, Dominica, all the 5 Caribbean passports have a very similar visa-free access once the St. Vincent CBI goes live. And it's not a question of if, it's 100% certain that they are going to go live very soon. Once they go live, because the reason why they did not have a program in place is because the ruling party never wanted a CBI. The opposition party, the NDP, always wanted a CBI, and now it's their time. They've won the elections. And the first thing they want to do is obviously get the CBI out of the way so the country can start generating revenue. In terms of the visa-free access, it directly matches up with the other 5. I think Grenada is the only CBI with the most diversified access out of the 5 Caribbean. So you have China, Russia, and E2 to the US all on the Grenada passport, but the other ones have a lot of good access. They have the EU access, and EU is pushing for an ETA, so it's going to mess up things a little bit. Even if they don't get rid of the Schengen access from those passports, the ETA is going to be very interesting for CBI citizens. But St. Vincent currently has the Schengen access. Unfortunately, there's a bad development that's really affected the CBI industry is that the US and EU have heavily cracked down on the Caribbean options. They have given them or handed them 6 principles. EU started first, followed by US. So it involves a lot of regulatory framework, which is interviewing candidates, collecting, aggregating a lot of data which did not exist before, and then data sharing with a home country government. So let's say someone comes from a Western nation, based on where they're coming from. Of course, you're coming from EU, coming from the US. All this wealth of information obviously needs to be transparent. It needs to be supplied back to the main country, the real country, or let's just call it the home country. All right. So because the home country would not want to know what are the games that you're playing, if any. Okay. So a lot of people want to play tax games. They want to exit their home country, get one of these passports, and then stop paying taxes or start paying 0% taxes. So the home country wants to know all of what is going on. What are those strategies? What are people up to? That's where the 5 Caribbean countries agreed to the principles set forth by the EU and the US. And also, the second major impact, not in a good way for the investor, was the price floor. So 200K is the minimum, and then they all go up in price. That price was heavily pushed for by the EU. They recommended a certain minimum price point for these Caribbean options. So now those 5 Caribbean countries have blanket implemented whatever EU or the US has asked them. When St. Vincent launches, now there's an important thing that happens over here, and this is key. If St. Vincent does not agree to all the principles laid out by the US or the EU, then there's 99.9, or I would say 100% chance that they would lose the Schengen access. and they would be heavily penalized for not listening to those principles as is. So to keep the Schengen access, and let's just say they don't listen, they lose the EU access. At that point, no one is going to buy that passport even for 100K, right? So it's then at that point going to compete with passports like Sao Tome and Principe, Botswana, and if those other African passports and let's say St. Vincent has the same visa free access, people aren't going to buy St. Vincent at 100K if they're going to get, let's say, the Sao Tome and Principe at 95, because both are going to be pretty much useless passport from a travel perspective. So St. Vincent is not going to risk not listening to EU and the US. So the logical assumption is that they're going to implement all of what the EU and the US is asking them to implement, including the price floor. Now, I don't think they're going to launch any higher than 200K. I think they're going to be pretty much in line with St. Lucia. And at that point, it's going to be one of the other 5 options. If anyone was to pick the best out of those 5, or let's say it becomes 6, then the obvious answer is still going to remain Grenada. And there are 5 critical reasons that make Grenada the better choice out of the 5. And I've made a detailed video explaining this. If you have missed that one, you can return and take a look at this one. I've covered all the 5 key reasons. I'm not saying Grenada is the best deal. Of course, they listen to other countries, they're regulated by other countries, or let's call it they're influenced by other countries. So obviously I don't like that, no one likes that. It's really bad and terrible for the industry. But if you had to pick one of the 5 or 6, then Grenada is a clear choice. Would I wait for St. Vincent to launch? Absolutely not. I think there's no point waiting for St. Vincent CBI. What is the price? I think, and this is my own assessment, 99% it's going to be 200K of price point. And when is this program going to launch? I think this is going to be drafted in the first quarter of 2026, and mid 2026 this program, there's a high chance that this program would go live. And as I said, if you are subscribed, you will be the first one to be notified the moment this program launch date is set. Now, what's the second CBI here? The second CBI is Botswana. Now, what's Botswana competing with? It's competing with Sierra Leone. It's competing with Sao Tome and Principe. There's a CPLP ECOWAS country in West Africa. Again, that's an exception. So it's competing with those programs. So now, does it make sense to wait for Botswana? First of all, let me discuss what is the price floor, what is the pricing that we're talking about here. The range, the broad range, is going to be between 75K to 95K. And I personally don't feel, with great certainty, I don't feel that it's going to launch at 75K. It's going to be closer to the 95K. At that price point, this is going to compete directly with Sao Tome and Principe. So what's the winner between the two options? 100%, no doubt in my mind, the winner between the two, it's Botswana, because it's a much safer country. Not many people would even travel or go to Sao Tome and Principe, but a lot of people, if shit hits the fan, can actually enter Botswana and feel safe in that country. In terms of the visa free, there's some interesting nuance that Botswana has, so I like that fact. Now, the time frame for Botswana is going to be a little slow. It's not going to be fast like St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Botswana might launch by mid of 2026. That's what I predict. And we are closely tracking the Botswana CBI development because I'm personally quite interested in that CBI. And what's interesting is the price. They have to get it right. The lesser they make it, the better it is for them. If they absolutely have to get the price right, then they should not exceed 85K. At that price point, they'll blow Sao Tome and Principe out of the water. Sierra Leone is not even in competition because 140K, not a lot of people are interested in that citizenship. Right now, everyone seems to be interested in Sao Tome and Principe. And if you are interested currently or thinking of getting the Sao Tome and Principe, you can always click the link, book a call. We can quickly discuss and get you started on this program. Our priority is the speed at which you can get these CBI passports. A lot of people these days are asking asking for citizenship by exceptions. There are certain governments that you can work with. If you're really doing something for the benefit of the country, then those governments on a case by case basis authorize and award citizenships. There's a lot of countries that do that. There's Serbia, there's Albania. Again, some countries don't like to be named because this is not a CBI citizenship. You can't just decide, go ahead and purchase these passport. It has to have a proper channel. It has to be merit based in certain circumstances, or even if it is not merit based, you have to directly do something for the benefit of the country. It's a private matter between you and the country. And I feel the future is going to be exceptions where you somehow get the citizenship in a legal way, and we track the exceptions very seriously. Any government that is interested in working with the investor in doing the exceptional program, I'm particularly very interested in such governments. Now, before you go, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If St. Vincent or Botswana, either one of the two citizenships, is it worth it? Is it worth waiting for? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and catch you in the next one.